right, welcome to the quarterly dairy legal webinar, everyone. I think we're good here. Covering the second quarter of 2025 and focusing on the 2025 federal milk marketing order reforms. My name is Audrey Thompson. I'm a staff attorney here at the Penn State Center for Agricultural and Shale Law. Next slide, please. We'd like to thank our partner for this webinar, the National Agricultural Law Center, for sponsoring this webinar. The National Agricultural Law Center at the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture serves as the nation's leading source of agricultural and food law research and information. This material is provided as part of that partnership and is based upon work supported by the National Agricultural Library, Agricultural Research Service, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Next slide, please. This webinar is the 20th webinar in our dairy quarterly legal webinar series. Previous webinars have included discussions of geographical indications in dairy products, risk management, Pennsylvania milk marketing law, state milk pricing systems, and many, many more. Next slide, please. Recordings and materials from all of those programs are available on our quarterly dairy legal webinar landing page on our website. I'll also mention our dairy and dairy products law virtual resource room and our Pennsylvania Milk Marketing Board issue tracker are also valuable resources on our website. There are links for those pages as well as the event page for this webinar, where you can access the PowerPoint and all of the materials for this webinar. Next slide, please. We encourage you to mark your calendar and register for upcoming programs. In our Understanding Agricultural Law educational series, we've got ADA compliance for agritourism operations coming up in 2 weeks on July 25th. And then next month, we have foreign agricultural land ownership laws on August 22nd. Both of those are on Fridays at noon Eastern time. Registration is available from the Understanding Ag Law landing page or on our events page at our website, and Pennsylvania Attorney CLE credit is available. Next slide, please. Then we've also got, just to kind of mark your calendars or pencil in the date here, our next quarterly dairy legal webinar will be on October 24th. Focus topic on that is TBA, and registration will be up and available soon. Pennsylvania Attorney CLE will also be available for that. So just save the date there, October 24th. Next slide, please. We are excited to announce that we've teamed up with Penn State Extension to offer education and services through the AgWorks program, which is funded 100% with federal funds from a U.S. Department of Labor grant totaling $1.3 million and 0% non-federal funds. This 2-year program aims to link agribusinesses to workforce services, educate workforce professionals about the needs of agribusinesses, provide services and training to individual agribusinesses based on needs, and help small agribusinesses grow and succeed. AgWorks will provide 100 registered small to medium-sized Pennsylvania farms and agribusinesses with no-cost training and consultation to ensure business sustainability in the areas of hiring and retention, business operations, compensation and benefits, legal counseling, health and safety. Additionally, the program will register 1,000 agribusinesses in the PA CareerLink online system. If you are watching this webinar and you know a PA farm that would benefit from this program, or maybe you are a Pennsylvania producer who could benefit from this program, please visit the website and share the contact information. You can take the survey and share the survey link, refer ag businesses, and send referrals or questions to agworks@psu.edu. Next slide, please. And one last plug, in September, we're hosting our own symposium here in person in State College at University Park, Penn State Dickinson Law. That's going to be on Thursday, September 18th. Lunch and refreshments will be provided. That will provide 6 Pennsylvania Attorney CLE credits, including 1 ethics credit and 5 substantive credits. Tentative topics include ag labor, Pennsylvania acre and right to farm, environmental and natural resources, agribusiness issues, and a 2025 ag law update, and more. Early bird registration pricing is available until August 29th. So that is $150 for attorneys requesting CLE. That'll go up to $200 after August 29th, $100 for non-attorneys, and $25 for students. So don't delay. Register for the Penn State Agricultural Law Symposium today, and we hope to see you here in Penn State in September. Next slide, please. All right, and finally, just a few reminders before I turn this webinar over. We are recording this. If you have questions, please write them in the Q&A feature. I'll collect them and ask them at the end. We encourage you to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. Tell us what you liked, where we can improve, what topics you'd like to see in the future. And if you would like us to submit this program for free CLE credits to the Pennsylvania CLE Board, we've posted a link to the CLE form in the chat here. You need to fill this out to get your credits. We'll give you a code word later on in the program. You need to enter that code word into the form to get your credits. And I always check, I don't know if anyone's on the phone, but if you're on the phone and you're listening, send me an email at AET17, that's Alpha Echo Tango 17. I'll send you a link to the form. The form is also on the landing page here, or sorry, on the program page for this webinar. So should be able to find it. All right, I will now turn this webinar over to Chloe Marie, our research specialist, who will present a roundup of this quarter's dairy legal developments. Chloe, the screen's all yours.
Thank you, Audrey, and welcome everyone. So in this session, we will cover important updates, including recent Pennsylvania Milk Board actions on licensing and pricing, and continued over-order premiums, new USDA rules impacting dairy program and labeling, recent FDA developments on food dyes and product standards, as well as international trade agreements and export facility regulations. So let's start with some important updates from the Pennsylvania Milk Board. So on May 10, the Pennsylvania Milk Board rolled out a new regulation that raises certain license fees for milk dealers and a small number of sub-dealers. So the board explained that this fee increase was necessary because they have not had any support from the state's general fund since 1996. Instead, they have been relying almost entirely on license fees to operate. However, the operating costs have increased over the years and their revenue just has not kept up. And without a fee adjustment, they were on track to run a deficit, which could have affected how well they do their job. And according to the board, there are typically between 200 and 205 licensed milk dealers at any given time. And these dealers pay two types of fees, a fixed license fee and a volume-based fee, which is calculated per hundredweight of milk. So the fixed fee is staying the same, but the volume-based fees are going up. So for milk that falls under price controls, meaning the board sets minimum wholesale or retail prices, the fee is increasing from about 6 cents to 7.5 cents per hundredweight. And for milk that is not price controlled, the increase is much smaller. It is going from about 2/3 of a cent to just over 7/10 of a cent per hundredweight. So the board expects these changes to bring in just under $300,000 in additional revenue for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. And after that, the annual amount will likely go down slightly since the volume of price control milk is expected to decline over time. And as for sub-dealers, the impact is very minimal. There are usually between 140 and 150 sub-dealers in the state, and this change only affects 4 of them. Sub-dealers pay a fixed license fee plus a volume-based fee based on quart equivalence. And what happened is that during a 2020-2021 update, the board adjusted the quart-based fees, but accidentally left out one volume tier. So this new regulation simply corrects that oversight. So for those 4 sub-dealers, the correction means that they will pay an additional $50 per year. And there is no set time limit on these fee increases, so they will stay the same until the board decides otherwise. So the Pennsylvania Milk Board also just issued a new over-order premium order, keeping the premium at $1 per hundredweight for Class 1 milk. And this rate applies to all milk produced, processed, and sold in Pennsylvania from July 1st through December 31st, 2025. So no change in the amount, just a continuation of the current premium through the end of the year. Now moving beyond Pennsylvania, I will take a closer look at some important developments coming from the USDA that affect the dairy industry nationwide. And on April 23, the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service published a final rule that reestablishes the Dairy Forward Pricing Program, effective April 24, 2025. So the Dairy Forward Pricing Program was first created under the 2008 Farm Bill. It allows milk handlers to negotiate prices directly with producers or cooperative for non-fluid milk, so classes 2, 3, and 4, instead of using the minimum prices set by the Federal Milk Marketing Order System. And it's important to note that Class 1 milk, which is fluid milk, cannot be forward contracted under this program. And since it was created, Congress has extended the program multiple times in 2012, 2014, 2018, in 2023, and now again through September 30, 2025, under the American Relief Act of 2025. So the rule clarifies that while new contracts can be signed up to that date, all contracts must end by September 30, 2028. And under the Dairy Forward Pricing Program, participation is voluntary for producers, cooperatives, and handlers. Handlers cannot require producers to join, and the USDA does not set contract terms or enforce prices. However, handlers still have to report milk use and values according to the Federal Milk Marketing Order System. Also, handlers must submit signed contracts to the market administrator before the first day of the month when the contract becomes effective. On May 29, the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service also published a final rule officially repealing the regulations for the Dairy Donation Program. So the USDA launched the Dairy Donation Program in 2021 as part of a larger effort to help the dairy industry recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. It helped farmers and dairy processors who donated milk and other dairy products to food banks and organizations supporting families in need by reimbursing some of the costs involved in processing and donating this product. And the goal was also to reduce food waste. However, the rule explains that since Congress has stopped funding the program, the USDA no longer has the authority to continue it. As a result, the program and its regulations are now considered outdated. So the repeal will take effect on July 28, 2025, unless any objections are submitted by June 30, 2025. Now on June 6, the USDA Economic Research Service released quite an interesting study on food labeling, specifically looking at milk and yogurt. The goal of the study is to get a clear picture of how often different types of claims show up on packaging and how they're used together. Dairy products were the focus because they tend to carry a lot of different labels, and that variety makes them ideal for understanding labeling patterns. So to do this, the researchers used two major data sources, Circana and Label Insight, which track product labels and universal product codes. So since claims can be worded in many ways, they grouped them by what the claims actually mean rather than the exact wording. And they sorted them into 11 categories here listed on the slide. So they looked at over 4,800 milk and 3,000 yogurt products using 2022 data. And they found that fat content and kosher were the most common claims, showing up on about half the products. Natural claims were also big on 38% of milk and over 50% of yogurt products. Farm-related claims such as organic, animal welfare, and no hormones were less common but still significant, making up 44% of label types for milk and 30% for yogurt. They also found that labeling is anything but random. Most products had multiple claims, 60% of milk product and 68% of yogurt. Organic, non-GMO, and animal welfare often appeared together, especially on yogurt. Natural and no hormones were also commonly paired. And interestingly, organic and natural claims rarely showed up on the same product. And also worth noting, kosher claims often stand alone, and fat content claims often go with health-related claims, especially in yogurt. In their conclusion, the researchers emphasize that labeling is clearly strategic. Brands are not just listing claims, they are curating combinations to send specific messages and appeal to specific shoppers. They explain that there is still a lot we do not know about how these claims influence what people buy or how to reduce confusion, leaving the door open to more research on consumer behavior. And on June 18, the USDA Farm Service Agency issued a final rule effective upon publication to remove outdated and obsolete provisions from Title VII of the Code of Federal Regulations. This is part of a government-wide initiative to reduce unnecessary regulations under Executive Order 14219. And among the changes, the Dairy Disaster Assistance Payment Program rules were removed. This program provided support to dairy farmers impacted by disasters from 2005 to early 2007. The agency emphasized that these changes won't affect anyone who has ever used the program. It's just about keeping the rules current. So next, let's turn our attention to the FDA. So on April 22, the US Department of Health and Human Services and the FDA announced a plan to gradually remove all petroleum-based synthetic dyes from food sold across the country. This is part of a bigger health initiative called Make America Healthy Again. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary highlighted concerns about rising childhood health issues such as diabetes, obesity, depression, and ADHD, and suggested that these artificial dyes might be playing a role. He also said the US should follow the example of Europe and Canada, where natural food colors are already widely used. And following that announcement, the International Dairy Foods Association revealed their Healthy Dairy in Schools commitment. And starting with the 2026-2027 school year, dairy companies promised to stop using artificial colors in milk, cheese, and yogurt products served in schools nationwide. The goal is to remove synthetic dyes such as red 3, red 40, green 3, blue 1 and 2, and yellow 5 and 6 from all dairy products offered through school meal programs. Also on June 18, the FDA announced updates to temporary permits it had granted to two companies, Bongart's Creameries and Chobani LLC. Starting with Bongart's Creameries, they were given permission to test market a special type of pasteurized processed cheese that uses extra virgin olive oil to prevent the cheese slices from sticking together. Normally, FDA rules do not allow olive oil to be used this way in cheese, so Bongart's needed special approval. Originally, the permit covered different cheese products that deviated from FDA standards of identity for cheese. Now the permit has been narrowed down to focus solely on pasteurized processed cheese. In other words, Bongart's can only test products that deviate from the standard for this specific type of cheese. The company also requested an extension to continue their market testing and filed a petition asking the FDA to officially change the cheese standard to allow the use of extra virgin olive oil as an anti-sticking agent for pasteurized processed cheese. So the FDA agreed to extend the permit, letting Bongart's market test up to 20 million pounds of the cheese product with olive oil annually. And this extension will last either until the FDA finalizes a rule changing the cheese standard or denies their petition. And as for Chobani, they were granted a temporary permit to test yogurt products that do not fully comply with the traditional government yogurt standard. Chobani's test yogurts use ultra-filtered non-fat milk as a main dairy ingredient, something not currently allowed under existing yogurt standards. And the FDA made a small clarification in Chobani's permit to reflect that Chobani can use ultra-filtered non-fat milk and water plus sweeteners when making these test yogurts. The FDA also extended Chobani's permit to allow more time for market testing, and Chobani requested that the FDA officially amend the yogurt standard to include ultra-filtered non-fat milk as an approved basic ingredient. And like Barngart's permit, this extension will remain valid until the FDA either finalizes a new rule updating the yogurt standard or denies the petition. And the FDA also invited interested parties to participate in the market test under the conditions set forth in the company's temporary permits. On June 25, the American Butter Institute wrote to the FDA about a product called Country Crock Dairy-Free Butter. ABI expressed concerns that this product is misleading because it uses the word butter and claims to be dairy-free, while it contains no dairy ingredients at all, as it is made entirely from plant-based oils. According to their complaint, under US labeling laws, butter must be made from cow's milk or cream and contain at least 80% milk fat. And since this product doesn't meet that definition, calling it butter should not be allowed. Additionally, labeling it as dairy-free butter is confusing for consumers who may believe it is a type of butter without dairy when in fact it is a blend-based spread similar to margarine. The packaging also includes imagery like a red barn and pictures of butter, further suggesting it is traditional dairy butter. And ABI argues this is an attempt to take advantage of butter's trusted reputation, even though the product is actually a processed vegetable oil spread with different nutritional qualities. So ABI is asking the FDA to act quickly because this labeling breaks federal food laws by being false and misleading. They want the FDA to require the product to change its labeling or to remove it from the markets. So to round out our first portion of this webinar, we'll look at some important international dairy developments affecting trade and facility registrations. First, on May 1st, 2025, the U.S. Dairy Export Council and the National Milk Producers Federation signed a memorandum of understanding with the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to promote sustainable dairy trade that benefits both countries. Their non-binding agreement outlines joint efforts to include school milk in Indonesia's Free Nutritious Meals program, collaborate with regulators on dairy facility registrations, sharing trade data and market insights, and jointly promoting the health benefits of milk, especially for kids and school health programs. And the agreement will remain in effect until the end of 2026. And finally, on May 23, the USDA Foreign Agricultural Service shared a report about the new rules for U.S. dairy plants exporting to Costa Rica. The report explains that Costa Rica's National Animal Health Service updated their registration process effective May 10, 2025, getting rid of the old questionnaire system. So now instead of the questionnaire, U.S. facilities need to send Costa Rica a signed letter from the Agricultural Marketing Service confirming they meet U.S. sanitary standards, plus a fact sheet detailing the products they plan to export. The approval time has been sped up from 90 days to just 30 days. These new rules cover all U.S. dairy products, including whey, casein, butter, oil, and sweet cream. And just recently, on May 22nd, Costa Rica gave the green light to the first U.S. dairy cooperative under this new system. So that's a wrap for the second quarter of Roundup Development, and I will now turn